Hello everyone, due to technical difficulties we were unable to use Elliot's voice recording in this podcast. But don't worry, I've edited the podcast to try and keep it a cohesive discussion between myself and Dean, who made his debut in this episode. Isn't that right, Elliot? Brilliant. Enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome to the GameBit Podcast. I'm Chris and joined with me today is Elliot. Say hello, Elliot. And also Dean.
Hello.
Thank you very much for coming, Dean. It's we were hoping to have you last week, but we weren't able to get you in. You were busy. So
yeah, dealing with those post-holiday blues.
Oh yeah, where did you go?
I went to Turkey, a place called Fethiye.
Never heard of it. I'm afraid I'm not local.
No, I hadn't heard of it till I went there. But it was like a little seaside town called Ola Deniz, and it's beautiful. So yeah, we only went for a week, so gutted that we had to come back after just 7 days.
Did you miss any gaming time?
Yeah, I mean, I took my Switch with me. I played it a little bit on the plane there. It's like a 4-hour journey, but I didn't miss it. I mean, I think it's just because I was in this new place and it was like an adventure of its own. I didn't even really think about playing any games, which was strange because they're usually on my mind 24/7. So
no, it's good to take a step back away from games and just have some fun away from it as well, so it's not consuming you every single hour of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
My partner loves playing games as well, so I am thankfully able to just take games wherever I want to go, and she often encourages it.
That's nice.
Thank you very much, guys, for coming into the show. I might do a small bit of an introduction as to who you guys are, what your intro and things like this. Basically, because this is actually probably the first episode. The last week's episode was actually called the prequel because it was only myself and Elliot, and I kind of would like to get Dean involved and be part of the crew. As I said last week, you're kind of the new kid in school. You have to prove your worth and get those reputation points up. So, Could you let me know a little bit about yourself, Dean?
I'm currently an MA student at Coventry, and I've just started making a game. Actually, It will be just a level for the project, and I'm hoping it will become a full game afterwards if I can get it funded. I'm also an illustrator and character designer. I'm not sure what else you'd like to know.
I actually do have a favour to ask of you, actually, with your excellent artistry skills.
Okay.
Could you fix up the GameBit Podcast artwork? Because I made that and it's rubbish.
I like the simplicity of it. I thought it was quite nice. I like the colours.
Maybe that's fine then. Maybe it's okay. Okay, brilliant. We'll keep it as it is. Yeah. Job done. Great work, Dean.
I mean, I don't mind. I can have a look at it if you fancy. But yeah.
Yeah, have a look. I really would like to see what kind of game you make as well. I'll be definitely interested in checking it out and giving you some feedback or some input as well. So that'd be great.
That'd be great, Chris. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, Elliot, do you want to introduce yourself? Even though you were here last week, it might be a good idea to share a bit of details about who you are. I was actually probably wondering what kind of games you were interested in playing as well, or whether there's games you don't really enjoy as well. Brilliant. Excellent. Yeah, it's been one of those days. I've been up since about 3:30, and it's been really stressful to just kind of wake up. And we're recording this about 8 o'clock at the moment, so my energy levels are slipping. I wanted to really make that a point before we continue, because there might be some silences between us as we talk points. Elliot is brilliant at keeping the conversation going. It'll be like 1 minute of everyone else, an hour and 59 minutes of Elliot. Anyway, should we go straight to the news and talk about some of the things that have been happening over the past week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so I have here, in no particular order, first thing is PlayStation Plus games lineup. I don't
Yes.
know if both of you own PS4s.
Yes, I do.
Good on you. Do you both own Xboxes and PS4s?
I don't have an Xbox One, no.
Oh, okay. So, have you got a Switch, Elliot? I gotten a lot of entertainment out from my Switch, and because it's portable, I'm able to kind of use it in areas where I probably wouldn't be able to use my PS4 or my Xbox, because sometimes I go into gaming shows, sometimes I have to stay in hotels, sometimes I have to do all these different things, and the Switch is my opportunity to play games when normally I'm not going to be playing games.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I kind of feel that there's probably enough out there now to justify it, but I think that the amount of releases on the eShop are kind of causing the game to causing the actual kind of system to be flooded with a lot of rubbish as well, which is really disappointing. Anyway, we should probably continue with what we were originally going to be talking about, because me and Elliot had this issue in the last episode where we just bounce around topics, and we need to kind of
Easily
fix that. So at the moment we've got a few PS Plus games. I'm going to read them out in order, and you guys can chat about them or just say not really interested. So the first one is XCOM 2. Anyone interested in that?
Since playing Mario plus Rabbids, which is meant to run similar to XCOM, and after loving that game, I'm happy that I get a chance now to play XCOM 2 without having to fork out the full price.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a great love for the idea of XCOM. I've played XCOM 1, and I just couldn't get into it. I've been playing a bit of Mario and Rabbids myself, and found that it was much more easier to... Yeah, it's got much better accessibility than the XCOM series, but maybe you'll be able to like kind of just have some fun with XCOM 2. You know, knowing what you know from playing Mario and Rabbids.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Yeah, so it's good that we get that opportunity to give it a try, because I've always heard good things about it, and like yourself, I've always liked the idea of it. It's just not been something that I've been willing to jump into.
Well, in June, which is like, I think it's in about 3 or 4 days from now, which is probably like one day after the podcast airs, you will get to play XCOM 2, Dean.
Wicked. If I have the time, yes.
Right, next up is Trials Fusion. I really love the Trials games. Did you play have you owned Trials Fusion yet then, Elliot? Cool.
I'm hoping to pick it up myself, because I played it on a friend's PlayStation, and I've also played Trials when it was on 360. I can't remember what it was called. Might have just been Trials.
Yeah, it was just called Trials.
Yeah, and like Elliot was saying, when we was back at school, during our IT classes, when the teacher wasn't working, we'd be playing games on the internet, and there was a game that was very similar to it, but it was obviously a lot more primitive, that we used to muck about, and so it reminds me of that, and that was always good fun. So yeah.
Great. How old are you, Dean?
I am 28.
Ah, good. You're closer to my age than Elliot.
Yeah. I'm in the middle.
He's just a weird baby. Anyway, okay, so we've chatted about those. Next one is Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Do we want to talk about this? I mean, you know, we got PS3 ones and PS Vita ones now. I don't really want to talk about this. I don't think it's that interesting, really. It's fine. Zombie Driver HD Complete Edition. Do we...
It just sounds ridiculous.
My publisher published the PC version of it. Yeah, it's fun. You know, it's basically a top-down zombie driving game where you... it's almost like Carmageddon, but it's a mixture of like Carmageddon meets Crazy Taxi. I'm kind of like paraphrasing here. I'm not quite sure. I remember playing it a little bit, but I didn't really get involved because it was before my time. You know, worth giving it a try. You might like it if you like top-down, weird zombie shoot 'em up things. Then we got a couple of other PS Vita titles. We got Squares, which I had a look on the page and was like, you know what? No, I'm not going to bother anymore. It's I'm gonna put it up. Let's see. Here we go. I'm gonna read the description for you. Squares is a puzzle reflex game for the PlayStation Vita system. The objective is to turn grey all of the blue squares while dealing with different kinds of squares before the time goes up. The game features 91 levels as well as the level editor for creating your own challenges. So basically just changing colour of squares, it sounds like. The next one is really interesting, actually, called Atomic Ninjas. Now, it's a PS Vita game. The reason I find it interesting is because it's got 4,431 ratings on the PlayStation Store at 4 out of 5 stars. It doesn't look great. I looked at it on the screenshots and thought, you know what, I'm fine. I don't need this. But then I saw the ratings and was like, wow, okay, maybe it's better than I expected. Maybe there's something really cool there. It's £7.99 normally, but
I'm looking at screenshots now, and it looks like it could be fun. I mean, is it like an adventure game, or is it like a fighting?
Would you like me to read the description for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
The most entertaining multiplayer action platform game of the year has just arrived. Enter the arena as one of the 8 atomic ninjas and battle it out against other players and bots, online or locally. Outsmart and outflank other players, upgrade your super abilities, and use crazy ninja weapons and gadgets. Only the most malicious players win. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Well, you know what? We've got one really good Vita game there. I don't know about Squares, but you know what? Maybe Squares is better than we thought. Shall we move over to the Xbox games of gold? I can tell you what they are. You might be able to tell me what they are by me telling you what they are, because I don't know what they are. So the first one is Assassin's Creed Chronicles Russia. I've never heard of this game. I didn't realise there was an Assassin's Creed in Russia, but apparently there was one. Elliot, let me know what this is.
I think they just kind of came out of nowhere back in the day as well. They just they were just like, oh, these games are coming out. You know, it wasn't like say Revelations or Brotherhood that, you know, they were big announcements and releases. Whereas these Chronicle games were kind of just like released without much much fuss or hype about them. So I think they kind of slipped under the radar, unless you were a big Assassin's Creed fan, which I was back in the day, but it still wasn't enough for me to. I think they were Vita exclusives at first. I'm not sure, but it wasn't enough for me to go and get them anyway.
Okay. Well, we'll move on to the next one then, because we don't really seem to have an opinion on this one.
No.
Yeah, so the next one is the Smite Gold Bundle. Now, Smite is already free to play. It's just that this is the gold version, which packs in extra content for the free games, such as 20 more gods and other items such as skins. Yeah, I mean, I've got a few friends who really enjoy playing Smite. It's kind of, it's a bit like Dota, but in third person. And from what I can tell, people really enjoy it if they start playing it. And I've played a little bit of it. I couldn't quite get to grips with it, but I can see where it's got some appeal, and I think there's going to be a lot of people who really enjoy it. Next one's really cool, actually. The next one is a free Xbox 360 game for Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love this game. It's really great. It's done by the guys who called Sumo Digital, and they've been doing this amazing thing over the past few years of just getting some brilliant games out there. And they took the relaunch, like a kind of a remastered version of the original Outrun game, and they did an amazing job of it. And then they were given Sonic and All-Stars Racing to turn into their own. And the Transformed one is amazing. It's really fun, and you all should definitely be playing it if you haven't had a chance to play it.
No, I remember playing a demo, I think, on the Wii U, and I've heard a lot of people say that it was even better than the Mario Karts that had come out at the time, which is...
It's really good.
It's always looked fun. So I might boot up my 360 just to get this.
You should. It's really great fun, and I'm looking forward to playing it. I never actually finished all of the tracks, but I just... I had it on PC as well, where you had characters from Team Fortress 2 included as well, which is brilliant. Elliot, anything you want to say about this? Okay, and the last one is the Lego Indiana Jones 2, The New Adventures, which I think is probably the retelling of the last Indiana Jones, the Crystal Skull.
The awful film.
Yeah, I've never seen any Lego. I've never seen any Indiana Jones movies, so I am afraid I have to withhold judgment on all of them.
Yeah, I remember I saw them as a kid, and all I can remember from them is one of the scenes where the Nazi's face gets burnt off.
Yeah, no, I know that one as well.
And that just that just seared my brain, and I still remember that scene from being a little kid.
Okay, brilliant. So that's it for the Xbox Gold and the PlayStation Plus. We happy with these games?
Well, I'm biased because I don't have an Xbox, but yeah, it does seem like PlayStation has the better list of games, just for Trials and the other one.
XCOM 2.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're incredible. I mean, it's incredible value for money, really. I know that when PlayStation Plus first came out, people were a bit offended by it, but I don't know. I've always found that they've been good value for money. And one of the things that I get really angry about is how people get quite angry with having some of the lesser games in there. I know that we've talked over Ghost Recon Future Soldier, but you know, some people get physically angry that there aren't more games that of their quality that they expect, and they leave some very negative comments in news articles like, "Oh, what's the point? This is a waste of my fucking time," things like that. And I've released a game on PlayStation Plus before, which I think was met with some similar reactions as well, and it was a bit like, "Oh man, it's free. You don't have to download it. You can choose not to download it if you are so offended by it. Just play something else. There's plenty of games out there. Don't just start causing hate for something you might not want." Okay, right. Should we move on to some other stuff? I've got a few other bits of news. Dean, how are you looking for time? You've got to head off soon, have you?
I'm okay for now. I'm playing it by ear. I had to go meet my partner, but I'm okay for now.
We're not going to get you in trouble then.
No.
Okay, good, good. If you need to go, just let us know, and we'll just say our goodbyes and move on. Brilliant. Okay, well, next one. I'm hoping that you guys have some understanding of this. So, Fallout 76 has been revealed via a teaser trailer. I have some information here that I've copy and pasted from Kotaku because while I have played Fallout 4 from beginning to end, I haven't really played any of the other Fallouts, but I really, really wish I did. I just couldn't get into them. I wasn't able to I don't know, I think it was something to do with the setting that I just wasn't that involved in, but for some reason I finished Fallout 4 from beginning to end, and I hear that's the worst one, so what do I know? At the moment I've got a few things from Kotaku that have said that it's an online survival RPG, similar to DayZ and Rust, and this was from some of Kotaku's sources. So I don't know what you think about having an online survival game as a Fallout game. Don't really say much information on it, and this is all kind of rumours from sources, so it's not confirmed, but Kotaku seems to think that it has some merit to it, so they've published it. I don't know how you feel about this, Dean.
Well, I've only played Fallout 3, and I played that around 2013, so it was quite a long time after it was initially released. I really did enjoy what I played of it. And I never got into Fallout 4, but I don't know. To me, that Fallout 76, when it was released, ignoring those rumors about it being a survival game, it kind of gave me the impression that it would be a type of New Vegas to 4, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so you mean developed by another developer, which means that Bethesda continues to work on a newer version.
Yeah, and it was because New Vegas was 3, wasn't it, basically, but just slightly different.
Yeah, it was a completely different area, and it was being created by Obsidian Entertainment, who went on to make the South Park Fractured But Whole games and Stick of Truth. I hear that some people think Fallout New Vegas is better than Fallout 3.
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah,
but then I've heard people say that it's not as good as 3.
It's all subjective. I can move on to what I find really interesting about Fallout 76 that I've dug up because I've been watching a few people talk about some facts about Fallout 76 and where it fits in the lore. And that means, if this is correct, what this means is that it's a really good entry point for players who maybe haven't really played Fallout very much. Very similar to how Assassin's Creed Origins have been a really good stepping point for new people to this franchise as well. Now, do you mind if I share some of the lore that I've discovered for Fallout 76, or do you want to have like experience some of that yourself, Elliot? Okay, so Vault 76 was designed to open 20 years after the nuclear fallout. Okay, and it had the goal of rebuilding society. So what this means is that the people from Fallout from Vault 76 are designed to kind of make sure that after the nuclear radiation kind of like dissipates to a degree where it becomes a bit more easier to survive up on the mainland, they leave the vaults and they try and kind of create a society by rebuilding. And what I find really interesting about this is that it's probably going to be a much less civilized version of the world from the previous games because everyone's trying to find their place. And if this becomes an online multiplayer game where you have, I don't know, 100 people leaving a vault and having to kind of set up camps and bases and become the last vault person to secure a almost a town or a settlement, this is really interesting to me because it kind of means that it's the very start of the story instead of me hopping in later on for like Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 where the story's already been told before. This is like really exciting to kind of find out more because it's even before the Fallout 1 timeline, which apparently reveals how super mutants were created as well. So there won't be any super mutants in this game if it's set to launch 20 years after the vault was closed. The bombs have fallen, but in Fallout 1, the very, very first game, they show you who created the super mutants. But if this is set only 20 years after the events of the bombs falling, there won't be any super mutants, apparently. Yeah, so it'll be a kind of Fallout world which maybe you haven't seen before because some of the things that made Fallout 3 or Fallout 1 won't be in it. It'd probably be a bit more territorial, I guess, maybe. Because people are still kind of clamouring to find their own place and find their own home. I don't know. It sounds really interesting to me, and it's probably if that's the way they're going, it would be a really good jumping point for someone like me or anyone else who hasn't played a Fallout game to kind of experience it from the very beginning.
So it's basically a prequel before the others. Do they go? I mean, they go 1 to 4, but do they actually? Is 2 set after 1? And 3 set after 2, if that makes sense. Is that how they go?
I can't remember what the timelines were, I'm afraid. I kind of think that it should be single player. And only because it's kind of, you're experiencing the world as that person. So I have played Fallout 3, the beginning intro, and it's all about this one guy, and Fallout 4 is about this father trying to, find his son, and they're kind of more personal stories. And I think the only way you could probably do this would be to have maybe a team of 4 people who are trying to create a community, but you're kind of like having to almost like find ways to kind of like mess around with your team and colleagues. So like if all 3 of us played together and one of the goals was to become the leader of this community, there would be things that I could do and go out and kind of maybe pay AIs to kind of like come and mess with you so that maybe you die and I get to take over the responsibilities of this community, gaining more points. And maybe it becomes this kind of this game that lasts several hours, but you're kind of trying to gain as much traction and followers so that you end the game as the leader of this group. It'd be really cool if, like, maybe Megaton, which is from Fallout 3, and is the town which I know the most of because I spent so much time at the beginning of it in Fallout 3. If you started out building your base around this group, and as players you needed to defend against anyone who tried to, attack your town, but you also had to kind of set up some kind of systems to make sure that the AI understood that you were in charge. And that's the kind of Fallout game that I'd really like to see, which had multiplayer, something with like kind of social, that explored the social elements of the game, because that's where I think the game's strongest. If it becomes a free-for-all fest where it's just everyone for themselves, survive as long as you can, craft this nonsense, I don't think it really takes into account the strongest elements that the Fallout series has. I think there's some really good ways of doing it, though. You bring up the Division 2, and one of the really cool things about that is the Dark Zone? You actually had this kind of uneasy alliances with people, and for me, that is what's really exciting about that part, because you could work together with everyone and it'll be fine, or you could turn on others to get the loot, and then you get labelled as a rogue agent or a renegade agent. I forgot what it's called, and you get like kind of marked on the map, and people who are on the server get a bonus for killing you because you've gone against the rules of conduct. And it's really cool, that kind of like system where you kind of counteract any negative behavior by initiating some other types of rules which could benefit people who want to play and want to help and support other people, is really good, because there's this whole element of risk and reward. And this is the really tricky thing that games like Sea of Thieves really struggle, because there's no risk and reward. But if you can kind of factor that into a Fallout game where you go and visit someone else's town and you make a trade, and you have the chance to mess them up, then I kind of feel like if that chance to mess them up was so risky but also quite advantageous if they got it right, and this is the thing, they've got to be really spot on to get it right, it could be really fun. But it's definitely they've got to really juggle the risk and reward, so that, because at the moment in Sea of Thieves there's no risk and reward. You just walk up, you shoot someone first, you take their treasure. It's best to shoot first and just kind of wait and see what happens. And that is the problem. So let's say if we do a Fallout game where I have a really big town, you come to my town, you are at my mercy, yeah, because you're in my town. But if you want to take something from my town, that is a massive risk to you, because you're already inside the town and have the ability to be attacked by any one of my AI teammates. And then that brings in the kind of element of some sort of system which allows you to kind of muck around with it, and I don't know, I just really like having these kind of emergent gameplay experiences where trust is not absolute. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's what I'd like to see in games. That's what I was hoping to get from Sea of Thieves. I'd love to see it in Fallout, and the closest I've ever gotten is the Dark Zone in The Division 2. Anyway, I think we pretty much talked around that topic quite a bit. We should probably just move on. I've got another one we have here called, I don't know if I want to raise this. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is suing Fortnite for copyright infringement. Do we want to talk about this, or do we not want to give it any sort of traction?
I was just going to say, it just sounds ridiculous, really. Like, what else can you say about it, I guess? Like, it's made through Unreal Engine, isn't it, PUBG? So surely Epic have the rights to just sort of pull the plug on the game at any point. I think that's how the license works. I'm not 100% sure. But I feel like they're biting the hand that feeds them.
Yeah, it doesn't help that Tencent own a majority share in I think they own the majority share in PUBG, or it's the other way around, and they also own a share in the other. So they've got they've got stake in both of them, and they're like, hey, you know what, you kids, you better pack it out, pack it in now. I kind of feel that we don't see these kind of lawsuits or anything happening in films, do we? You can't think that them winning against Fortnite is going to be a good thing for the industry. What? Because if this happens, it then plays into factors like, what exactly do you own, and it will kind of reduce the amount of scope and creative freedom that developers have. So do you not think that this is bad for the games industry if anyone wins in this kind of lawsuit? Look, this isn't just about PUBG. This isn't just about Fortnite. This is about the kind of creative freedom in video games to create things and be able to kind of release that. So if you can imagine, if they win this single thing, what will happen is, Call of Duty or Battlefield will decide, hey, you know what? I might sue PUBG for having guns in their game. Or maybe there'll be someone suing for racing games, or maybe GTA will probably sue people for having open worlds, or it's not. This is a ridiculous thing. It's the start of something terrifying if they win. They can't win. That's how I'm feeling, because it's kind of really, it's a restrictive nature. I mean, you have Crazy Taxi, who Sega copyrighted the actual kind of like 3D arrows in games, because they were like, well, you know what, this is going to catch on. We better make some money from this. And no one was able to do that. Namco, copyrighted and claimed, games in their loading screens. And this meant that no one else except Namco was able to create small little things for the people to play with while the game was loading. But now that's ran out, everyone can do it, which is brilliant.
I wonder why there wasn't more of that.
It's really irritating. It is disgusting how people can kind of copyright these types of things, because I don't know, it's almost like, hey, you got the PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds guys are sitting there, and you're saying, hey, they should probably spend their money on getting new servers. But what they're doing is they're spending money hiring a person who goes round and finds things to sue people over so they can get more money. So it's like, you've got like your dev team doing one thing, because the dev team and the legal team aren't the same thing. So they've got a legal team out there who's just trying to make money by suing whoever they can about everything they do. And it's really sad. It's not good. It's not a good look for them. It makes me disgusted, and I think that creation of video games should be not as restrictive as they want it to be.
Well, it's a creativity, isn't it?
Basically, I didn't want to talk about it because what happened is I thought, you know what, everyone just thinks that PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds are being idiots for it. But you decided you're going to support PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds for suing Fortnite. You're ruining the games industry, Elliot. What are you doing?
Well, it's like DC Comics. They were the original comic company. And then Marvel come along, and arguably Marvel became the more popular out of the two. That's like DC coming along and saying, well, we're going to sue Marvel for making comics. They wouldn't have got anywhere, would they? And in the end, by them not doing that, everybody wins, because you've got people that love both, you've got people that love either or other. So, I think that's the same here. Like, what happens if they do sue them? Does that mean Fortnite is over? So this is what I mean. Yeah, and if they didn't, like, so many people are finding joy in this game. I played it myself for a bit, but I don't really see the appeal now, and I kind of agree with you, Elliot, about the zombie thing. But to deny people the opportunity to play that game because you want them playing your game, I think is, it's unfair, really.
Yeah. I'm glad we got that settled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually never played either of them, so I have no stake in either, to be honest. I own PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds because I got it for free with my Xbox One X, but Fortnite, I actually bought the the campaign mode, which I think hasn't been getting as much love as attention as the free Battle Royale mode. Should we move on to the next news story? This is another one I probably can't really talk about, is Pokemon. Do you guys like Pokemon?
I love Pokemon, the main games in particular.
And Elliot, are you a Pokemon fan? I never played Pokemon, so I am probably going to have no impact on any of this news whatsoever. So I'm going to have to probably hope that Dean takes over the responsibilities of this. Dean, do you have any news to share about the Pokemon that, is interesting? Because I haven't even said what the news is for the Pokemon things, because the Pokemon thing is, I have no idea.
Okay, well...
Present the news, Dean.
Yeah. I'll present it as best as I can. Basically, in the past week, technically 5 new Pokemon games have been announced. There is one for the Switch that has already been released called Pokemon Quest, which is a strange cubic type Pokemon game, which is unlike any other Pokemon game. I've played a little bit of it, and it's a strategy type thing, but it's got that minimalism look like Minecraft to it. I guess they're kind of jumping on that bandwagon there. And so far, all I know is you do missions, you go around beating up other cubic-looking Pokemon.
I saw the trailer for this, and it just looks like Pokemon gangs, because there's like 4 Pokemon standing together and it just going up to these wandering Pokemons going, all right, mate, I'm going to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, but it basically is, yeah.
Okay.
So far I have like a Bulbasaur and a Rattata and a Pidgey, if anyone remembers those Pokemon. And yeah, they kind of attack on their own. Like, you don't even tell them to do anything, they just go off and start ambushing these poor wild Pokemon. Beating the crap out of them, but basically they're fruit. You get like mushrooms and berries from beating them up, but I've literally only just touched the tip of the iceberg of that game. I don't understand the purpose of the story right now, but it's intriguing. I'm going to give it a bit more time. So that was released on the day they announced that. The huge news note is 2 Pokemon games have been announced for Switch that are coming out this year. One called Let's Go Pikachu and the other one called Let's Go Eevee. And they're meant to be remakes of the original Pokemon Yellow on the Game Boy. Yeah, and I think they're using that. It's like Yellow was like an improved version of Red and Blue, but took influences from the anime as well, with Jesse and James from Team Rocket. And Pikachu was your main Pokemon that you couldn't evolve either. Like in the show, he wouldn't evolve into a Raichu. Yeah, he won't evolve. He just doesn't like it. But he's like extra power. He's like extra strong. He's like an extra strong Pikachu, so you don't have to evolve him. Wild Pokemon can't be battled, but you can capture them, like in Pokemon Go, and it's going to be compatible with Pokemon Go in some way or another.
It just from the video that I've seen, it just looks like the Pokemon trainers just walk up and just throw balls at Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't like the idea of this personally, because I think they're oversimplifying a game that is already pretty simple. Like, the entry level for Pokemon games is pretty low anyway. Kids are always jumping on these games no matter what age, and they're loving them. So I don't get why they're doing this. Maybe to bring in older fans of the original games.
Yeah, but the people who play the original games must have played with some battles.
Yeah. I mean, you have trainer battles, so you still have the battles in that sense where you'll fight another trainer. And I guess you'll take on the Pokemon League and the battle and the gyms and stuff. So yeah, I really don't understand why they've done this. Maybe to bring over the Pokemon Go players, which it doesn't sit right with me. And a lot of fans are saying it's okay, but I just don't I don't like that element to it. I mean, if it brings people that have stepped away from the series back, then that's good, I suppose. But if this is how they're going to move on with the series as a whole, then I don't think it's a good thing.
I haven't played Pokemon, and I'm interested in this.
Well, that's good.
But only because I like the pretty graphics. I don't know about the gameplay. Because I just saw they were like, you can use one hand to control this, and I was like, well, what do I do with the other hand? I could just jack it, I guess. But I don't know. It just seemed like it was really simplistic. But I love the graphic and the art style. It looks really nice, and having that kind of HD remastering of a Pokemon game is really cool.
Yeah.
But the Pokemon games have always been super expensive, difficult to get hold of secondhand as well.
Yeah.
Because they've held their price. And even though there's millions of them out there and millions get sold, they obviously don't need to change the format very much. So it's almost like Nintendo going, hey, we know you wanted a new Pokemon game for the home console system. Well, you got one, but there's a caveat. So keep on checking by, because we might release the game you really want one day.
Yeah, it seems like that, and it's I don't know. I mean, every Pokemon fan has dreamed of a main console Pokemon game that was like the main adventures on the Game Boy. We had a couple for the GameCube, but they were like spin-offs where you couldn't really battle wild Pokemon. You could battle some trainers, and the battle systems in that were pretty cool, but it was very linear. So for them to release this is a huge moment for Nintendo fans, Pokemon fans, and people of the older games as well. And for them to just sort of incorporate it with Pokemon Go and water it down a little bit, I just feel is like a bit of a slap in the face to people that have been with the series since the beginning. Because they say that you don't need Pokemon Go to experience this game completely, so it makes me wonder why they did make this decision. But the other part of the news was they were saying that the next two main games, so they would be like Generation 8, I believe, after Sun and Moon, are coming out in 2019, and they reckon that they're going to be more like the original ones, and less like these two.
Do you think that we'll see them at E3?
I hope so. There is a bit of speculation going around that we will, but then I don't get why they would. That might make sense, I suppose, why they announced these prior to E3. So it doesn't cause confusion, because people could be, if they announce both of them at E3, people are going to be like, well, why is this one different to these ones? But they haven't confirmed that the next games are going to be on the Switch. They've just said that these are the next games coming in 2019. The new games are only going to have the original 151 Pokemon from Red and Blue and Yellow, including some of the Alolan forms of those Pokemon from Sun and Moon.
Oh no, I'm just kind of falling asleep a little bit because I'm not really fussed about Pokemon. So sorry, that's why I was a bit quiet. I was like, well, I'll let Dean and Elliot just take this one for me, because I ain't got nothing to say. I don't know my ho-hos from a Rambo.
All right.
Okay, right. Can we move away from Pokemon?
Yeah.
I actually don't have any more news topics unless anyone else has anything they want to talk about.
No.
There's a lot of stuff left to talk about. I've got like about 3 different questions from people. And we haven't even talked about what we've been playing either.
Well, apart from the couple of minutes of playing Pokemon Quest, I have been playing Horizon Zero Dawn, finally. And I've loved it. I'm pretty near the end, but I just feel like it's a little bit repetitive. Without going into a full review of it, I feel like it just kind of gives you everything from the get-go, and that leaves little to progression outside of the story. But otherwise, I think it's very unique story, and the setting is, it's so unique. No one else has done that type of thing before. So yeah, I hope that they make another one of these games.
I haven't played much of it, but I have a bit of a gripe with the armor sets of the game anyway. And it kind of like led to some of my frustrations in it because you start off as this character and you get given some armor and the armor's more powerful, so I put it on and she just looks like she's like just straps lots of metal to her head.
Yeah.
And when I started talking to people, I was like, my character looks like a bloody idiot. I don't want this. I would just rather not have any armor at all and just kind of experience it with this kind of... Because the front of the box is this really kind of interesting character with this really cool looking style to it. And then my person is just this complete freak of nature that picks up anything she wants and just straps it straight to her. And it ruined the immersion of it for me because I knew the armor was better, but it just looks stupid. So I kind of... It's a bit vain of me, but I was like, I don't really want to talk to anyone because I'm embarrassed. For me, I always go for how it looks for some reason. I don't know why. That's what I'm like. I do it in Destiny too as well, so I'm guilty of that. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of those games which I love the intro, I love the world, I love what it stands for. I got to the point where I went to a temple of sorts and then I turned it off. I just had other things to do. It wasn't that I didn't like it.
I think that at the time it was released alongside Breath of the Wild, and there was a lot of comparisons between the two and a bit of rivalry.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, it's done really well, but I just really feel that they shouldn't be compared either.
No. But then, in some ways, they're strangely similar, I found. I don't know. I guess it's like the Guardians are similar to the Machines. And it's this open world, and you're kind of like you have to use the bow to kill these things. And that, I think, is where the comparisons came from a bit. I mean, and I felt like the way that Zelda approached the open world thing and just made it more fun to just go and explore, it is the better game in that sense. Other than that, I've been playing the Mario Tennis demo.
Yes.
Which has been fun.
You like it, yeah? I love it. I think it's really good. It's really polished. It's got that kind of feel to it where things just line up perfectly. It kind of has that kind of element of Rocket League for me, where when you're in the zone, everything feels right. It just feels good to play.
Yeah.
I played one of the tournaments myself and ended up just getting to the very end, and then there was this kind of like back and forth where we were doing loads of rallies, and it was all going in slow motion. I had to. It's so good. It's just this. It feels nice to just play it, and the problem with it is that I think that there is a really steep learning curve to begin with, where you are given a lot of tips, you're given a lot of moves to work with, and you don't quite know what any of them do.
Yeah, and I feel they missed out in that little tutorial. They missed out that you can do the backspin and the backhand, a top spin and backhand by pressing B. And let me look at the console. It is B. Yeah, by pressing B and Y, you can do different hits with your racket, and they missed that out. And I kind of worked that out on my own. And after that, I felt like I was playing a lot better.
Oh, okay, cool. I've
Yeah.
So, what character is the one that you've played as the most so far?
Bowser.
Really? Is he like a power class?
Yeah, he is. And I like... I don't know if it's cheating or not, but he's big, so like I don't have to move him around as much.
Ooh.
But he's slow, so if someone's quick, it's hard. Even though he hasn't got as far to go, it takes him a lot longer. So there's definitely I think it's balanced really well.
Yeah.
But I like how powerful he is. He's just he just gets it out there.
Mario's a good all-rounder. I tried playing with Peach. I really wanted to play as Peach because this is a weird fact actually to say, if I ever get given a choice to play a gender, years and years and years ago, I used to play only as male characters and play who people who look like myself. But now, whenever I try to play a game and get given a choice of gender, I always choose a female character. I don't know what that says about me, but I really wanted to play as Peach. But what happened is she is really not very powerful, so all of her shots are really slow.
Yeah.
And it just became this kind of, I think maybe she builds up her like tech skills faster, but she's so slow at everything that I just she's really tough to control. But anyway, Mario Kart, no, not Mario Kart Tennis. My God, that'd be amazing.
No.
Yeah, my God.
E3 prediction there.
Yeah, Mario Kart Tennis party.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think like Mario Tennis is the only game that I wanted to talk about really myself. I don't know. It's like gonna be. Is it gonna be £40 or £50?
I don't know. I'm hoping it's no more than 40. But then they've got Captain Toad coming out. Not to change the subject, but that's going to be £35, and that's on the Nintendo store to pre-order. So, and that's like a full game. It's got extra levels in it from the Wii U version as well. So I can't imagine Mario Tennis Aces being much more than that.
I reckon it's going to be a full price game. It depends on how they market the story mode, because it's going to have some sort of weird story mode of it. Maybe it's going to be sitting on the lines of Splatoon. You know, they sold Splatoon, it did really well. They had that selling at full price. I don't see why they shouldn't have this at full price based on that.
Yeah, I mean the Wii U Mario game, I don't know if you played that, but it was awful. The Mario Tennis game, it was awful. It was an abomination. It was one level, like one court that you would play. There was just like a handful of characters, and it just wasn't fun to play at all. There wasn't even any online, and you could barely call it a full game. And I wish I'd done more research into the game before I bought it, because that was full price, and that was on Wii U.
That's a shame.
So yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, but I feel that they should give me a discount on this game, considering I went out and paid full price for the Wii U version.
Yeah, but they, I guess they don't know that you did that. I didn't pay.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't pay full price for the other one because I saw the reviews and was like, well, you know what? I'm going to stay away from that.
I know. I should have done, but I was like, I want that Mario Tennis experience again, and yeah, I was burnt.
I never played a Mario Tennis game before because last one was on there was one on the 3DS, but I heard bad things about that as well.
Oh, I've only heard good things about that one.
Maybe I'm in there falling in line with a bunch of people who give me bad opinions then. So, I don't know. I've never played a Mario Tennis game until this one, and I just felt it was really good. I definitely agree that I think if it's like £40, I probably would try to see if I can get it. And my last experience of tennis games was Smash Court Tennis on the PlayStation 1. I used to love that game. I got given a demo code for that, and I never had to play the original game because I just had this demo disc. So I just used to boot it up when I was younger, just play this Smash Court Tennis, because it had a full round, but you only had 2 people to choose from, and that was enough because it's tennis. Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about that you played, Dean?
No, the only other thing I've been playing a lot again is Magikarp Jump on my phone, on mobile. It's a ridiculous free-to-play game.
Is this another Pokemon game?
Yeah, but you have Magikarp that you catch. You don't catch them, the game kind of does it for you, and then you train them and they jump, and you compete against other people who have Magikarp that jump, and if yours jumps the highest, you win. And it's the most ridiculous thing. You should just it's worth trying just to see how absurd it is.
Is it by Nintendo?
Nintendo licensed a company in America to make it. So yeah, it's an official game. But it's ridiculous, and it's not that great, but it's fun to play when you've got a few minutes or if you're bored. It's just utter nonsense. But yeah, I've been playing that a little bit.
Don't really. I'm afraid I don't really know what to say because it just sounds. I don't even know what to even consider that. It's like you just told me. You get Magikarps. They do their own thing and they jump. And there's other people that have Magikarps that also jump. And that's what I heard from this.
Yeah, and you feed it berries and stuff so it grows stronger and jumps higher. So it's as crazy and absurd as it sounds. But yeah, It's a good little time killer.
Might have a go on it. I might download it. Maybe this is the thing that'll get me into Pokemon.
Maybe, yeah.
Cool. So me, the only thing that I've been playing other than Mario Tennis Aces is a game called Sea of Thieves. Don't know if you've heard of Sea of Thieves.
I have.
You have? Have you heard that it needs content?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, good thing for you, there is content that's been added over the past week or so.
Okay.
It's called Hungering Deep, and it involves players who have to solve a series of riddles in order to get to this kind of weird AI boss character. And I have played a bit of it, and my friend decided to solve all of the puzzles, and I literally just followed him around. This is the thing. I don't know if I feel like spoiling this or not because it's so uneventful that I found that it wasn't really a spoiler. Do you mind if I spoil?
I don't mind.
Okay. If you want to wait, then if you want to skip the spoiler and you really want to play Sea of Thieves Hungering Deep campaign, then skip to the next 5 minutes because I won't be talking about it for much longer. So, thing is, in Sea of Thieves Hungering Deep, you talk to a bunch of people and they give you these cryptic clues where they misname islands and stuff. And then you have to look on the map to see what kind of islands they're talking about, and then you go there. And then when you go there, you find a book, and then you press X on the book, you read the book, gives you another riddle, you go to the point where that riddle is, and then they say, great, you got here. Here's another riddle. Go to this point. Then you solve a riddle and you go to another point. There was a section where I went underwater and it was like this cave and I was like, and this music started pumping up and I was like, brilliant, great. I get to experience something really cool. There's bound to be some enemies or something really fun here. Got out of the water and it was a book with another riddle. And that was the entirety of what I played so far. There was no enemies. There was like nothing. It was just a journal and you read it and then go somewhere else. There was nothing there. It was like the most minimum amount of effort they could do. Really made me sad. I hear that the fight with the shark is good, but
the shark.
Yeah, there's a
in the water.
Well, okay. So in order to so the ultimate end of it is you get to fight a shark with other people, yeah? Yeah, you get to fight a megalodon. Now, the thing is, in order to summon the shark, you need to play a musical instrument with 5 other people. Okay?
Right.
In order to do that, you need to work with someone else on the server because you only can have a maximum of 4 people in your crew. Okay?
Right.
You need 3 friends, yeah, and 1 person who's a random because you can't invite people to join your server. The servers are instanced. So we sat down, we like waiting by this island for about 20 minutes, waiting for someone to turn up so we can play the rest of this career mode because no one was turning up. It was really irritating. The only fun bit about it was the emergent gameplay where we were trying to solve these riddles at the very beginning, and there was these French guys who were like, "Oh yes, come with me," and I was like, "Okay, brilliant, we'll come with you because you know what you're doing." And they were like, "Yes, you go to this place," and I was like, "Okay, right, okay, great, brilliant." And we were chatting away and having a laugh and playing musical instruments, and they had no idea where they were going either. So what happened is they kind of irritated me. my partner decided to start sneaking their treasures back onto our ship without them knowing. So we got nowhere in the campaign, but we did get some goblets. So basically, I was distracting them while my partner we stole two things from them.
How was she distracted them?
I was playing music.
No.
There's some really cool, fun things there, but the cool, fun things are when players make their own fun from it. It's really irritating that the content just isn't there. I think that there's so much potential with that game, and it makes me sad that this is the update that we've got. I think there's been some sites like Eurogamer praising the content that has been added, but I don't think it's enough. I think it needs more stuff. Well, okay. Well, let's move on to the questions from a few people. We have from Anthony John Harris, are remastered games worth it? Now, I'm going to put a little bit of extra news story into this because the Korean Game Rating Board has rated Borderlands Game of the Year Edition for PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC. And publisher 2K Games have yet to officially announce the Borderlands Game of the Year Edition for these systems. Do you think that remastered games are worth it? It's a very loaded question, I think. Do you want me to give...
Yeah.
I can give you my opinion. I have a good opinion on this, but I would love to hear yours before I just kind of ramble on with what I think.
I think so, yes. Because it just gives... Like, who's losing out, really, with a remastered version of a game? That's how I see it. So, yeah, I think they're worth it. It depends on how remastered they are. So, you know, if it was only from last gen and, you know, you enjoyed the game on last gen, but you're not willing to spend money again to play it, then, you know, then there's no point. But if you loved it and you really want to play it again and experience it again, then why not, I suppose. It comes down to personal taste, really. But games like Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, that was remastered for the 3DS, and I think it was completely worth it, even though I'd played the original endless amounts of times. I still enjoyed the remaster a lot more because of the the revamping graphics and the more intuitive controls and stuff like that. So
okay, and is that your favourite remaster?
Possibly, because it was done so well. I just don't like the fact that it was only on 3DS that it was remastered to. So possibly. I'm trying to think of other remasters I've played. Super Mario Bros. 3, the SNES remaster, which had like the Super Mario World graphics and controls put onto it. That was good.
When I was younger, I never actually realised that was a remaster. I thought that was the actual game.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Because back then, the knowledge of games was a bit more difficult to come across. But yeah, I just thought that was the actual game. So when I found out that the NES version had Super Mario Bros. 3, I was like, wow, okay, this is a bit different than I expected.
Yeah, I went back to that about a year ago, and it felt like playing a completely different game.
Yeah.
But I pushed through it. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was unaware of that as well.
Cool. Elliot, how about you? Have you do you think remastered games are worth it? It's interesting. I come at it from a different angle than you guys, because while I love remasters myself, I quite like looking at seeing games that I've already previously played and seeing if they still stack up. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But the other thing is that my niece has recently been playing games, and she's been playing the remasters of Ratchet and Clank on the PlayStation 3, and have been really enjoying it. And she probably would never have been able to experience those games had it not been remastered for that generation. She wouldn't have played the PS2. So she's been getting into gaming. But then it goes the other way, where my little sister, who's her mum, bought the Parappa the Rapper HD remaster on PlayStation 4, And we were playing this, and my niece just was like, "What the hell is this? You call this a video game? What are you doing?" And she's like, "You just press buttons in time with it." It's like, why? What would you get out of this? So she was like trying to explain to her like 8-year-old niece, "Hey, look, this was fun. This is what we used to play. This was Mum's favourite game." And she's like, "You're a mad woman. How dare you consider this a video game?" So I think one of the good things about the remasters is being able to show it to people who maybe have not seen it before. I think that there are some bad remasters, and Parappa the Rapper is one of them, because while the game is in HD, the cutscenes aren't, and it just gives an awful presentation for it.
Well, fun fact about that, actually, that game is actually the Vita version, apparently, or the PSP version, just uploaded onto the PS3.
Really?
Or is it PS4? Yeah, I follow Chris Scullion on Twitter. He used to work for Nintendo and stuff, and he's a games journalist. He showed that in the credits, it's only got the credits for the Vita team, for the original one, and there's no credits for anyone working on the port. So it's literally just an upscale of that original game.
Very interesting. I guess it calls into fact the amount of time and money that is used to make a remaster. I mean, to be honest, like Dean said, I think everyone kind of wins. The people who made the game or people who are selling it make some more money, and people who want to relive it gets to relive it at a cost, of course, for convenience, because, you know, those games still exist on previous platforms. So if you really want to play it, you can probably play it on those, unless it's a game which costs hundreds of pounds. One of the games, there's a lot of kind of really rare games out there for like GameCube, which, you know, I'd love to see remastered, because it would cost too much for me to buy them as a physical game.
Or at least released on a virtual console. Come on.
Yeah,
It's
I
gotta
really,
happen.
I really want to see Chibi Robo make a HD remaster, but it will never happen. Should we move on to the next question?
Yeah.
Cool. So this question is from Tasha Hurst. She's got 3 questions for us. We spoke about Tasha Hurst last time on the podcast, where we were talking about Overwatch and her skills. So first question is, do you think Sony will ever relax with mod/cross-platform support? Now, I raised some of this last week, where I discussed that Unreal Tournament 3 actually had cross-platform support for the Sony consoles on PlayStation 3, but no other game really did it. I'm getting the feeling that it didn't really probably hasn't led to a massive amount of backlash. I mean, I don't think Fallout 4 sold any less on PlayStation 4 because it didn't have mod support. Maybe we should probably have a look and see if there's any figures to see whether or not Fallout 4 sold better on the Xbox One, but I get the feeling it probably didn't. Don't know about that. And the cross-platform support, in my opinion, if you're in charge of the console war, which is Xbox, Microsoft and Sony, why would you try and convince other people to play your games on another platform? Why not just keep them on your platform? So what's the point in them saying, hey, you can play with Xbox owners, when really what they want to do is say, hey, you know what? All the games are on PlayStation. You might as well get a PlayStation and play with your mates there.
Yeah.
The only interesting thing I'll kind of breeze up is with the whole kind of cross-platform play, there is a reason why Final Fantasy XIV didn't come to Xbox 360 or Xbox One. Now, I'm going to read this out at the moment. It's the game director of Final Fantasy XIV. What's his name? Naoki Yoshida explained that while the PS3 and PS4 and PC players will be able to play together with each other when the game launches on the August 27th, the Xbox users would have to require their own server, turned the team off the idea. The policy has not changed on Microsoft's side, that they were unable to join other servers on PC. So basically, Xbox back in, when's this? July 2013, decided they didn't want to play with PC players or PS4 players.
Hmm.
So the only reason I know about this is because I've been obsessed with Final Fantasy XIV, but no one seems to remember that Xbox Live policies means that it would stop people playing off other platforms. So now what's happening is people are kind of turning it back on Sony and going, hey, why aren't you letting this happen? Microsoft are cool, but back in the past, Microsoft were the ones who were, this was back in the day of the Xbox 360, where they were market leaders. But now that Sony are market leaders, they've kind of flipped it around and goes, you know what? No, I'm not doing this.
Well, wasn't there reasoning to do with the safety of children online using their service?
No, their reason was their reason was that, but I mean, that's a reason, but not a good reason.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, but that's what they said. So you have to wonder if it is just for their own agenda as to the reasons why they're not allowing crossplay. But then would that make the reason why they're not that into supporting mods the same reason? Because I don't get how they would lose out using mods. They don't make money from them, and they don't lose money by having them on there.
I have a bit of a trouble with the mods system. I'm not too sure exactly what's happening, because modding the game is a bit different because it kind of impacts some of the architecture. So maybe there's an element of fear from Sony that modding the game on their system is going to make some of their services less secure. Because there used to be a game. What was it? There used to be a game that released as a demo disc somewhere and allowed you to unregion lock your console. I forgot what it is, but that happened ages ago. Modding it depends on how the modding works or how it factors in. I would be very interested to find out what the reason is for them not to allow modding, but this is me just playing devil's advocate and saying, hey, maybe it's going to cause some issues later on, because from what I can tell, I don't know how well the modding community or the hacking community have been with the PlayStation 4, because back on the PlayStation 3, when you had the Linux software, which they removed because it was causing some weird kind of exploits that people could do to play pirated games. I haven't heard as much information on the PlayStation 4 in terms of any hacking compared to the PlayStation 3 or the PlayStation 2 for that matter.
No.
Maybe this generation has been pretty secure in terms of hardware, and Sony are just a bit nervous about allowing modding. But I don't know.
Yeah. But they allow it to some degree, don't they?
Okay, well, have we answered the question? Will Sony ever relax with mod/cross-platform support? For me, it's a no.
We don't know.
I've got another question from Tasha. Curious to see if you guys think it's time for the next generation of console. I personally think it's too soon, even at 2020 for the new PlayStation. That's Tasha saying she thinks it's too soon, not me. I, which is Chris, Chris thinks that it's probably way too soon. We haven't even begun to see the technical limitations that this software and this hardware has to work with. We haven't even seen the threshold. I don't think we ever feel that we've achieved the greatest that we can have to offer at the moment. So we've got loads of Horizon Zero Dawn. We got God of War, and people are still thinking, wow, that's impressive and that's amazing. When we get to the stage where we're like, okay, and then, or so what? That's when we kind of think, okay, maybe we should be doing something a little different. Dean, do you think it's too early to be thinking about the next generation of consoles?
I feel like it is, yeah, because for some reason, even though there's been a lot of games out on the Xbox One and the PS4, that there just hasn't been enough to call it the end of this generation. And I know they're talking 2020, so that's but I mean that's only like a year and a half away, right? So
I don't feel like they're going to release that many games between now and then for it to feel like this generation's done with. And like Elliot was saying, like there's not going to, what sort of jump is there going to be in graphical appearance and what you can do in a game, because like games are so big now. Like looking at games, so even Zelda Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, GTA, the new Red Dead that's coming out. These worlds are so big and there's so much to do in them that do you really need more room to do more in them, if you know what I mean? Do they really need to expand on these worlds for it to be a more enjoyable experience? So I don't know how they're gonna make it seem like there really is a jump to the next generation.
Yeah.
Not yet anyway. Maybe another 5 years, because technology does grow pretty rapidly. But I can't see that happening in the next year or the next 2 years, really, to warrant a new generation.
Yeah.
And who's asking for a new generation? That's the other thing. You know, how many people do you know that are like, yeah, I can't wait for the PS5, I can't wait for the new Xbox? Personally, I haven't heard anyone say that, so I don't know. Maybe Elliot has had, because you work in a game store, maybe you've heard more people asking about those sorts of things, but personally I haven't.
I mean, the thing is that we aren't at a stage where anyone from console race is getting jealous of anything that the PC owners have. You know, I mean, if modding is the thing, then, well, you know, it's a bit fickle to moan about that, but at the moment, nothing on PC is making me think, hey, you know, I wish my console performed better than it did. Okay, well, let's move on. Do you want me to provide some feedback? It would be interesting to see what kind of games we all like to play, so we can kind of get a feeling as to where we are strongest, and then that way we can kind of talk about things as we want. But yeah, I think like we have a good mix up here. So
yeah, I hope I contributed enough. It's hard to tell.
You'll see. The only thing, I listened to the old podcast, last week's podcast, in the car, and I really enjoyed it. I think that it was great fun. The interesting thing is that every time my voice came up, Siri would keep trying to call people. So I might not be able to listen to this one. I don't know. I'll try. But if anyone gets a call from me, it's not because I wanted to call you. It's because Siri decided I felt like I needed to call you.
I didn't want to talk to you, alright?
Yeah. Just assume I don't want to talk to you and be surprised when I do talk to you. Okay. Right. Anyway. Thank you very much, both of you guys, for coming in to talk about games and things. It's great fun. And
thank you.
So, Dean, would you like to say goodbye?
Yeah. Goodbye.
Brilliant. Maybe we need to find a better way of just saying goodbye.
Yeah. Do you want me to share like social media things and stuff like that? I don't know how you want to.
I do have a Twitter account, but I haven't actually done anything with it. If you're listening to this and you've gotten this far, as always, what the hell have you been doing with your life? But if you haven't listened this far, make sure to rate us on iTunes, 5 stars. If you're listening to this on the YouTube player, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it. You know, this all really helps us kind of take that just one little step further and make sure that we all know that people are listening, because there's nothing more depressing than creating something, spending hours making something, and realizing that no one listens to what you're talking about. I'd like to say thank you to both Tasha and Anthony for leaving some questions, because they've been very supportive of the podcast. They have added some content. We've chatted about it, and I'm really appreciate having them give us some stuff to jabber about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So if you want
Always
to,
helps.
yeah, if you want to send us any questions, feel free to do so. If you want to do anything like that, just get in touch. Anyway, so that's the end of today's GameBit Podcast, which we decided as a name as well, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Are you happy with the name, Dean? Because I know we decided it without your consent.
I like the name. I was thinking about it earlier before the podcast, actually. I think it does the job. I like it.
Brilliant. Okay. So, with another episode in the bag, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.